In this video, I will show you key features of the RStudio interface. When you launch your RStudio session from UND Open On Demand, you will see a view that looks something like this. There are the RStudio interface is split into three what are known as panes. You have this first pane, which is known as the console pane. Then on the top right, you have the environment pane, and on the bottom right, you have what's known as the output pane. The output pane shows various things. By default, it will show you the Files tab, and there you can browse files in your home directory, and in this case it's showing you all the directories and files in your project. So for example, you could open a study guide by clicking on study guides, going into module, and then clicking the name of the study guide. Let's go back to the home and we'll open the study guide in a bit. The pane on the left, which is the console pane, is the R console, and this is where you can type R commands and do things in R. For example, I could do something very simple, which is I could add two numbers, and if I say 12 plus 23 and hit return, R computes the answer for me and returns the answer as 35. For the most part, we won't really be using the console since we will be working with our notebooks, and I will show you that in just a minute. But sticking with the console, one thing you could do in the console is load libraries and look up help for various functions. So let's load the library for the Palmer Penguins dataset that we will work with in Module 1 Study Guide A. And a library or a package in R provides additional functionality that base R does not provide. In this case, the Palmer Penguins dataset, the Palmer Penguins package provides a penguins dataset describing morphometric measurements of penguins near Palmer Station in Antarctica. And one hint about working both in the R console and when you work later with the R notebooks is something known as tab completion. If you type the first few letters of some object in R and you hit tab, R will automatically, if those first few letters match an existing object, it will automatically complete the name for you, so you don't actually have to type the whole thing in. If the first few letters that you type match more than one thing, then R will show you a list of options that you can choose from. So let's hit return to load this Palmer Penguins library, and if you wanted to read the help for this dataset, you can do so by putting question mark and giving the name, and you can see now penguins matches two things, penguins and penguins raw, and R is automatically giving me the options. I can just click on penguins to choose it, and when I hit return, it shows me in the help tab of the output pane a description of this penguins dataset. And you have coming up in Study Guide A exercises that ask you to use the help to understand what this data set is about. I can increase the size of the output pane by clicking on this big window icon on the top right, and that way I have more space to read this data set. I can either revert to the smaller size, or I can even put this pane out of the way by clicking the minimize button. You can also access the help by clicking on the help tab in the output pane and searching for a particular function. For example, I could search for a function called lm in R, and it will describe to me what the lm function does. And in this case, an lm function creates linear models of data for you. And one more thing that's important about the output pane is that if you're not working within the R notebook, plots, if you're graphing things, show up in the output pane. So to show you an example, I could do plot cars, which will plot some data from the cars data set. And when I do so, the plots tab of the output pane shows me the plot that has been created by the command that I ran in the console. Although we would not really be using this very much, since most of our work will be carried out in our notebooks. Now, what about the environment pane? We will learn more about what variables are in study guide B of module 1, but we can create a variable, let's say x, by a statement such as this. And when I hit return, you will see the environment pane has been updated, and it shows that there is a variable called x which has a value of 23. So what the environment pane shows is the computing environment of RStudio, where it'll list the variables you have and their values and other things such as R functions. Finally, let's open up the study guide to see the fourth pane, which is not being shown right now. And you can open up the study guide in two ways. You could either browse in the file explorer in the output pane, and I could go to study guides, module 1, and click on the study guide to open it, or I could click on file and open file, and then again browse the files in this interface, go into submission, study guides, module 1, and open the study guide. Let's open the study guide from the output pane. Click it, and now a fourth pane has opened. This is known as the source pane, and what it is a text editor which will open things like R notebooks and R scripts. Some other features of the RStudio interface you will be interacting with very frequently are, of course, the file menu, in which you will be opening projects, closing projects, saving files, and so on, and the version control menu in the tools, where you might be committing, pulling branches, or pushing branches. You can also access the version control functions through this menu over here. Their equivalent, you could go through tools, version control, or use this version control menu over here.